Hi friends, this is Caitlin, and today I am back with a Mother's Day card featuring some Stamping Bella stamps. This is the Curvy Girls Strutting, and I love them so much. I'm also going to be using some of this colorful canvas pattern paper, as well as this really fun printed tissue paper that I'm going to be tearing into some little pieces. This is something I was gifted by a friend who decided she didn't need it in her stash anymore, and I love that I get to reuse something and give it some extra love. And I love that it has little the words on it fit this card theme pretty well. So before we get started though, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you can join our crafty family and you can hang out with us every Friday afternoon when I post some new crafty inspiration. I'm starting out by stamping my Stamping Bella images on a scrap piece of Copic Express It paper. This is definitely my alcohol ink Copic coloring paper of choice, and I'm just using my Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, which is alcohol ink friendly. So when you're stamping those Stamping Bella images in a stamping platform like the MISTI, you want to make sure that you take out your foam insert because they have that foam backing on them. And you don't want to double it up because one side will turn out much darker than the other side. It just creates some very uneven pressure. And now I am going in with some distress inks. I'm using Salvaged Patina and Speckled Egg to kind of create this diagonal, very loose kind of ombre shape. I wanted it to go from one corner to the other, kind of following the general direction that the stamp is going to be going when I put those images over the top. And I'm using this new Simon Says Stamp mini ink cube holder, which is absolutely amazing. You could definitely fit a ton of cubes in here. You don't have to put the lids in the top. You could just line up the cubes and fill the whole thing that way. But it's great because it's that silicone. It doesn't slide around on your surface when you're picking up your ink to blend. And I just thought it was very helpful, and it doesn't take up a lot of room when you're not using it, which is great. So I also went in with some water and some Salvaged Patina Distress Stain to kind of just create some splotches on my background, and we're going to be trimming that down. So I really didn't overthink it. I didn't take a lot of time. And now I am starting to color in my stamped images. So I decided to kind of use me and my girls and my mom as my coloring inspiration for this. So I started going in with that E04 for my shadows, and then I grabbed my E13 to kind of create a little bit more of a tan undertone, a little bit of extra warmth to the undertone. And then I go in with my E11 and then just save a teeny tiny little highlight area for my E00. You definitely don't have to, but I enjoy adding a little bit of a nose eyebrow ridge kind of line on these curvy girl stamps from Stamping Bella, as well as some of like the oddballs and some of their images that don't really have a nose or a mouth. I think that adding it in just gives a little bit of extra dimension and definition, even though, you know, you're not really having to worry about filling in a ton of features. It just, to me, it makes them look a little more filled out in a way. Their faces just kind of look a little more complete to me. So I am just going in and filling in all of my skin tone shades at once. As always, all of the colors and products that I'm using today will be listed in that description box below for you. So while I am shading this in, I just wanted to give a really big shout out and a happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there and all the people who are dealing with this day without their moms or grandmothers, or who might have lost somebody special. Just know that, you know, you aren't alone, and that we love you. So I am very excited to be spending my Mother's Day with my girls. I have two daughters, one's 5 and one is 7, and our family has been kind of going through a lot recently with some health concerns for people in our family, and it just is a big reminder to me to be really grateful for the time that we have with our family. And so I am very much looking forward to spending some time with my kiddos, no matter what that looks like. Just hopefully lots of cuddles on the couch. I am more than fine with that for me. So I'm going in and creating kind of a turquoisey top on the mom. I made them have kind of matching khaki pants. I wanted just something nice and easy and neutral. And originally I was leaning with the teals because I created that splatter background with those same kind of teal colors. And originally from my favorite things, canvas pattern paper, I pulled one of those teals, but in the end I ended up switching up that color, and we'll talk about more of that in a minute. But I wanted to kind of tie in those shades into my stamped image, and I just thought that the mom's shirt was the easiest way to do that. I also love this stamp set because it's not Mother's Day specific. This 100% could be customized for an aunt or a grandma, depending on what your family kind of looks like and what your family dynamics are. It could be for cousins, it could be for anything, it could be for moms, but not necessarily Mother's Day. I just think that it's so sweet, and they look like they're just having the best time kind of dancing along, strutting their stuff down the street. So I decided to give the little girl a pink shirt, and I tied in those same kind of pink images or pink colors with one extra deeper shade for those flowers, just to give a little bit of extra dimension and a little variety while still staying in that same color family. So I added a BGs for my little green leaves, and that way the greens wouldn't kind of clash or overly contrast with all of those blue greens that I used for the mom shirt. I gave them some little matching brown shoes, and then I went in to do their hair. I am not the most confident when it comes to doing these kind of hair strokes, and I tried something a little bit different in how I was holding my marker. I tried holding it very, very, very close to the end so that I had a lot of control, and really trying to focus on barely touching the paper with those deeper shades. And I feel like this is really helping to give me a lot of those really thin strokes that give you that more realistic look, especially because the Stamping Bella images are very detailed and they're not huge. So it's not, obviously not super hard to color them, it's not impossible, but you definitely need as much control as you can get with these. And so I found that holding that pen right by the nib really did help to give me a lot of control over my strokes. So if you've been struggling with coloring hair or feeling like you're not getting, quite the right texture, I would definitely encourage you to play around with how you're holding your markers. And again, even you can see I'm spinning my paper a lot to make sure that even my paper and my image is at an angle that makes it easier for me to get those kind of natural and more organic looking strokes. I've also found that playing around with mixing in different brown families for my markers helps me to kind of really customize the hair tones that I'm going for. Before, I would pretty much try to stay just within one kind of color number family, but I know that my E49 gives me some of the darkest true brown shades out of the markers that I have, and so I find that I've been adding it in a lot lately, no matter what other colors I'm using, just so that I get that really nice contrast. And so definitely don't be afraid to kind of play and pull markers from different families to get the kind of color look that you're going for. So that E25 just helped to give me a nice little highlight, and now I am fussy cutting my design. I'm leaving a decently thick white border all the way around, just so that I didn't have to worry about being too super fussy with it, but I wanted to make sure that the border wasn't out of control and we could really get a good look at those splatters. So once I saw the teal splatter background up against the teal pattern paper, it just looked like too much blue. So I decided to pull in the same kind of rosy tones that I used on the little girl's shirt. And so I grabbed that woven pink pattern instead, and I'm going to be grabbing one of my double stitched My Favorite Things rectangle stacks dies, just to give the edges a little bit more interest as well. And I'm just kind of positioning my stamped image on the splatter paper so I can make sure that the splatters are kind of where I want them to be. And then I die cut that panel out. And I wanted to play around with the printed word textured tissue paper, and I wasn't sure if I wanted it to go under my panel or over my panel. So you can see I'm kind of just playing around with placement. But in the end, I decided that I really liked it on the panel, kind of taking up some of the white space in those corners. And because it's tissue paper, you can still see through it. So you definitely can still see the color blend and the ink blending there. But I just kind of played around with tearing the edges on the inside, but cutting the edges that are going to be up against those stitched lines. And I did, when I glued them all down, I did glue them on the inside of those stitch lines. I just like that added little detail that you get from that, where the stitches almost create a frame. So I did that on that upper right hand corner, and then I'm going to do the same process on the bottom left hand corner. And I'm just taking a little bit of liquid glue and kind of dabbing it on and spreading it out with my finger so there wouldn't be any big clumps. I just wanted to make sure that my tissue paper didn't kind of fold up and create any kind of added three-dimensional texture where it was. I still wanted it to be nice and smooth so that my little stamped image would still be the main focus. So once I got that situated, I decided that I wanted to add my sentiment to the bottom right hand corner, and it says, "All we need is each other." And I just thought that was so cute. This little mom and daughter strolling down the street, strutting their stuff. It's them against the world. But there's a bunch of there's two other sentiments in this stamp set, and I just think that they're all extremely cute. So you could do whatever sentiment fits the theme for what you need. And I'm popping this panel up with some thin 3M foam tape, just so I could tuck my some of my sequins under the panel as well as on top. I put my panel on a little crooked. You could see I tried to pick it back up, but I had pushed down too hard to start. So I just went with it. If this is really going to a mom, I'm sure she'll understand, and she won't be nitpicking if my paper's a little crooked. So I placed my stamp so that the mom's hand and head is a little bit hanging over the edge, and the little girl's foot is lined up with that stencil. And then I grabbed my sequin mixes. I was torn between the teal and the white, but I ended up going with the white mix, which is Dreamy Days from Possum Stamps. This is absolutely one of my all-time favorite sequin mixes. I use this a lot. I'm already on my second little pouch. It's just perfect for all occasions. So you can see I'm tucking one of those bigger sequins under the panel on each side, and then adding two smaller ones near it, kind of creating those two little triangles, one up by the mom and one down in the other corner by the little girl. And I just love how this card came together. I am so grateful that you came to hang out with me today. If you're a mom or you know a mom, happy Mother's Day. I hope you have an amazing week, and as always, happy crafting.